Do not adjust your dial. You've tuned into the Bellingham Podcast for the week of October 18th, 2020, episode 168. From that spooky city by the Salish Sea, I'm AJ Barcet.
And full of fright, I am Chris Powell. On this episode, we are continuing a whole lot of conversations, whether it's in quarantine or in person. Plus, we have a special guest in the recording studio in the location. This, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, ghouls and goblins, this is the Bellingham Podcast.
Wow, Chris, I feel like a real TV or radio show announcer. I used like a quippy Halloween reference. How you doing?
That's right, AJ. I'm doing just fine. No, anyway, sorry.
Perfect.
The sound you're hearing is our special studio guest star. Yep. Okay. Oh, I know. Yes.
I apologize to all dog owners right now because your pups are probably listening or turning their heads going, where is that coming from?
We're recording in my casa because the weather has turned a little bit on the cool
frightful
side. Not too frightful. It's just on the cool side. And my beautiful little doggy is here who has a 30 to 40 foot perimeter of anything walking across the street or something like that. So in case you hear some dog barking, we're going home style this episode.
I dig it. This is like authentic episode 1 right here.
And speaking of authentic episode 1, March 1st, 2016.
March 1st, is that
the last time we were sitting on these sofas with the same social distancing?
Yeah.
Episode 1 took place in this very room, in this very residence, of which I'm not sharing the location of my home address. We recorded right here. 168 episodes, or 67 episodes. This is 168. So the topic of episode 1 was talking about technology. We were under a different banner.
Oh, wow, we were.
Bellingham Podcast Media Tech.
BPM Tech.
That's right. And so one of the things, and I listened to the episode in preparation for this show, since I knew that we'd be recording here in my house with our wonderful dog who's stealing the show. What did we talk about? I talked about 5 tips that you could have for your online technology. Guess what, AJ?
Chris?
Calling the ball. Let's go back to basics. Email and communication, but from a 2021 lens.
You know, that might be very prudent given that we're in a pandemic, and I think more people have done email in the last 6 months than they have in 6 years.
Yes, I would imagine so. The emails, they tend to propagate. And at the time of this recording, people are coming home from work. So if you hear the growling, ladies and gentlemen, that's my dog. So in talking about email, yes, it's something we do every day. We have different types of email providers, both work-related and personal-related. The personal ones, a lot of folks, have the Gmail. They may have Outlook.com for the Microsoft. There's also Comcast Xfinity for some emails that people get. But then there's also the privacy security focused folks that don't want to have a huge corporation potentially having access based on a rogue employee's actions to view their email. There's zero knowledge providers or end-to-end encrypted email providers out there called ProtonMail, of which I'm a big fan.
Based out of Switzerland?
Yes, and Tutanota.
That one was a new one.
That is another site. Forget where they're based from, but basically you are getting really encrypted, high-quality, security-focused email, and they also have a calendar feature as well. ProtonMail is currently rolling out some calendar features, and oh my goodness, coming soon. I've heard rumors, rumblings, disturbances in the tech force that ProtonMail might be coming out with a drive, like an online drive functionality. If that's the case, buy Google Drive. So long, it's been nice knowing you. Anyway, those are the types of personal email accounts. We don't want to spend too much time on that. However, what I wanted to chat about, among many things, is where are you storing your email within whatever provider you're using? AJ, you have work-related email and personal-related email.
Yes, and never shall the two meet.
Fair enough. Way to establish a boundary between work and non-work.
Yeah, nope. Work directly goes into an Office 365 environment.
Yes.
And personal is hosted offsite. I've got my own provider that I go through to do that. And yeah, no, they do not intermingle. Now, there is one other thing I will throw out is that my freelance stuff goes to a dedicated alias inbox. So for instance, if you were to reach out to, say photography@barsay.co, which is you'll find all my information about my photography at ajbarsay.com.
There you go.
That email address comes in to my quote enterprise, so that myself, my wife, we actually get that as together. It's not really an inbox; it's just an alias. And so that's how I usually manage the business stuff. That way, I don't have to worry about, do I have to sign in with new credentials, whatever. It just comes into one personal inbox, but my freelance and personal intermingle with that.
So I'm curious about how, great work on compartmentalization of your various TV dinner email vittles. So the thing that I'm curious about, or the question that I'm curious about is, do you keep all of your email entirely in your inbox?
Oh, heavens no.
Or do you have... Okay. Or do you have a subfolder set up, or is it a labyrinth of various? How do you have your email set up for getting it out of the inbox?
So the TV dinner trick is a really, really apt analogy for me, because like my main inbox, that would be like the entree, right? That's the church's chicken right there in the middle of your plate, right? And so everything comes into there, and I would say like a good 89 to 90% will stay there for instance, the Amazon stuff that that orders or whatever, that'll go there and will stay there until I receive said goods, and then it gets deleted. No, my inbox does not make that farting sound. I'm just saying that is.
But if you're an audio engineer out there and want to make that sound, please contact us. We'd love to have that sound for a notification tone.
So anyway, but beyond that, I kind of have my inbox laid out as, I guess, bins, unless it is familial. So it'll be the Amazon stuff, it'll be that type of stuff. Anything that is not that, usually I have rules or I have filters that will go to things like the business, watch related stuff, our podcast stuff, that type of thing. And so I have bins in that regard.
So that's a great way of setting things up for quick access of information should you need it. You know exactly where it is. I've taken a different approach because in a lot of cases, that email that I receive back in the day when my Amazon delivery is on its way, along with many other things, I learned way back in the day when Gmail was in beta.
Oh yeah, I had it too.
That there was a wonderful thing for the archive where you moved it from one bucket. Picture the 5-gallon mayonnaise bucket that you'd get at Costco.
Oh, yeah.
That's an inbox, and you would take an email and move it to archive, not delete. Oh, by the way, public service announcement, pro tip. If you're listening to this show and you happen to store emails in your trash folder or in your deleted items, like AJ said, please don't. That is not a good place to store emails that you may be referring to later, because some providers, and I'm not going to name who, delete the trash
after 30 days.
That's right. So that being said, I like having two buckets. The inbox, when something comes in, I get to do something about it. And no, this isn't like David Allen's Getting Things Done, or the minimalist approach or whatever have you. I do something with it, and then I archive it, because I found that even in Outlook, devil it's due, Gmail and a bunch of other providers, if I search by keyword, I can usually locate the email that I'm trying to bring back up within 2 or 3 mouse clicks and a little bit of a search. And so I use the filters, labels, rules, et cetera, with aplomb. But I like keeping things very simple. It's either in my inbox or in my archive or in my trash. And I delete my trash on a frequent basis.
As do I. No, I guess my archive, I do at the end of the year. So okay. I'll actually take all of, that way all of my filters are clean each year.
Sure.
So at any given time, I could go back and pull 2018 and just do a search within 2018. That way my inbox stays a little less cluttered, because I don't like having 30,000 emails
Sure.
that I've got to, suss out.
If I could give a little bit of advice, and this is part of the reason why I wanted to do a show. And by the way, I'm the one that has corralled AJ into doing a show about email.
Oh gosh.
But if one of the things I have noticed and observed, yes, I'm looking at your folders out there, Bellingham podcast listener. If you have a labyrinth of subfolders, including some that say Untitled Folder,
Oh, please.
2, Untitled Folder 3, this may be something for you to escape the visual fatigue of trying to search for something and such. If you were to use high-level categories, very similar to what AJ had said, let's just say you have one email account for your personal. What if you created a folder, or if you're using Gmail, a label called retail?
Yep.
And then from there, take anything that is of an online business and add the label to that. If you have a certain person in your life, a special someone that you receive a ton of emails from, perhaps in forwards from one of our elder folks out there who love forwarding emails.
Wasn't going to say anything, Chris, but
I have the lack of class to bring it up. You could create a label for that special someone. If you have some top level, highly, generalized, or somewhat specific folders that you get a whole lot of emails from, that could help matters out as well. Question for you, AJ.
Sure.
When do you check email? Do you get the notification all the time, immediately? Do you have a dedicated focus time, like 7:30 to 7:45? I'm checking email, or do you check email only when you're being paid for it?
Mise en place, buddy.
What?
We'll get to that at the end of the show.
Oh, okay.
But so for me, when it is business hours, typically speaking, no, I do a dedicated focus time. So I usually have the way that I'm very much a regiment type of person. I like having a routine. So Monday through Friday, there is a morning call that I'm always in with my colleagues. After which time there's a dedicated hour to hour and a half window that I will not do anything other than what is in that inbox that comes in. I call it, literally, I block it on my calendar. I call it triage, because I will take everything, triage it, and, do surgery if need be. And then after that, then that frees me up to go up on Teams or whatever or whatnot, deal with the other critical stuff outside of that inbox. But unless I'm working freelance or I'm expecting something, I don't usually check my personal or freelance stuff until end of day. Okay. So I kind of have a TikTok type of a thing. But I'm here to tell you, Chris, Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30, the only notification that happens is on my work computer, and that is the ding or the default ding that Outlook, the Outlook, whatever, here I am thing. And
I'm being annoying.
It's
just
okay.
like most notifications.
I was going to say, that's a good representation.
Yeah.
It and Teams are basically the only two notifications that show up, but it does not go on my phone. My phone does not get that. I'll have a badge turned on if need be. Usually I have my badges turned on for Teams and Outlook on my phone. But my email push notifications are turned off even on my personal stuff, because I will just go there, swipe, refresh, and pull my email that way.
All right. I agree with you as far as time blocking or dedicating sacrosanct time to do email processing. In my career, I'm doing a lot of responses to client requests for help.
Yeah.
And so I do keep Outlook on during my work hours. That doesn't mean that I immediately respond to emails.
Same here.
I think when you're a knowledge worker, you have to take some time to think about a problem instead of immediately regurgitating an answer.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes...
That happens.
So I choose to block out time on my calendar, because I don't want someone scheduling time during this part of my day that's focused, but wait, Chris, you said you have your email open all day. That's right. In my job, I block out time so I could have focused time where I don't want people interrupting that. And if it means a 3-hour block during my day from 8 to 11 a.m. where I'm focused on email, I don't want meetings. And I'll get to y'all in the afternoon. But when you're a knowledge worker and you're working on high level, complex situations, you cannot simply have all of these vectors of distraction hitting you when you're trying to do some cerebral work.
Yeah.
And speaking of cerebral work, the fine folks at KMRE 102.3 FM are basing all of their radio station stuff.
KMRE.org.
That's right, exactly. And from a listening standpoint, it activates my brain. Usually when I'm not listening to email. But around the terrestrial radio of Bellingham area, great way to listen to our shows. Saturday at 3 p.m., often a time where I'm not doing email, work or personal related.
My notifications are disabled at that time.
That's right. So along those lines, you made a comment about the notification you get on your work computer and how that's a separate device. I'm curious. It is possible to get a slide out banner notification. Do you get that and a ding?
Nope. Just a ding.
Just a ding. You don't get the slide out banners.
Yes. Because again, because of the work that I'm doing, I may be doing video edits and stuff. And again, that's why I have, for me, it's a little bit different because I'm more in a content creation workflow. So like I will pound out email also, to some degree, some management as well. So I have to also triage and take care of some folks. Then after that, I got to go into production mode. And when I'm doing that, I can't have, like, I'm doing recordings, like I'm doing voiceovers.
Yep.
So I can't have any other distractions because I might miss an edit, or if a Teams call comes in, like that's no bueno. Can't.
Sure.
Thou shalt not. That is the quickest way to get me cranky. Okay. Is if I got to stop production. Ooh.
Yeah.
Not a happy AJ.
No, don't sound the alarm to be able to stop the presses.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm noticing in this current era of Zoom meetings, and here's another pro tip for you folks out there. This is also an ulterior motive for my agenda to have this show about email. If you're in a Teams meeting and you happen to be a host and or presenting in a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting or a Google, whatever they're calling it nowadays, meeting online, why don't you turn off your email notifications? As an attendee of your meeting, I can tell when you get a new email. Yeah, exactly. And that, there you go. Notice how distracting that is from trying to do the whole concentration and focus when someone's trying to speak. Yeah. So consider that, hosts of Zoom meetings, turn off the audio notifications for you. I actually, on my personal phone, on my work computer, and on a personal device that I am currently using, I don't like the sounds. The only sound I have
is that sweet, sweet dog right there.
Yes, that occurs about 40 or 50 times a day.
Oh, just like email.
Well, yes, exactly. So, but usually I'm upstairs where I can close the door should I be in a call or something like that. Anyway, our dog is cute here in the Powell household. And so I usually turn off all notifications. I don't like distractions, but you've known about this about me. You've known this about me for many years now, 4+ years that we've been doing this podcast.
Yeah, it's a long time, buddy.
So as far as being I have this term, a better protector, a defender, a bouncer of my inbox. I have a couple things, and I just wanted to give 3 ideas for our beautiful, talented, vivacious, and glamorous listeners of this show. To be a better protector of your inbox of stuff coming in, shed no tears about deleting an email. Delete ruthlessly.
Oh yeah.
Be completely draconian. Enjoy. Take some pleasure in hitting that delete key or that trash can icon, because that email that you're getting of a notification about a Facebook post from one of your friends.
Oh no, turn that stuff off to start with. Don't even waste the inbox
and
storage.
One way you can do that, AJ, is to type unsubscribe in your email search box, and it'll search for the word unsubscribe in a whole lot of emails, as it turns out. If you see an address that comes up a lot, such as a retail company that sells soap or other types of bath and body products, for example, you can unsubscribe from that content and walk away. They won't be bugging your inbox. But Chris, I'm missing that 20% off deal or that online code to buy stuff.
Retailmenot.com, buddy.
That's this website.
Or Honey, or there's a ton of them now. Like, you don't have to subscribe to that stuff anymore.
We have another episode probably waiting in the wings of these kind of hacks for your online life. But unsubscribing from these emails, the opportunity cost of that 20% off code that you'd be getting on a $5 bar of soap is, wait for it, $1. That amount of time that you are getting distracted and cluttering up your inbox, is it worth that $1? Well, that's up to you to decide. And then finally, if you're a fan of archiving like I am, to be able to click all those check boxes, if you do a search, if you have an overflowing inbox, fun fact, the record for the badge, that little circle with a number in it on a device.
Yeah. The little red circle thing.
The record that I saw, 52,000 unread messages in one's inbox. 52,000 unread messages. I think there's just a denial state going on right there.
What?
Yeah. So if you happen to find some, do a search for a client or a colleague or a family or a friend, you can check the box toward the top of the screen that says select all, and you can archive them for reference later.
Yeah.
Maybe clear up some of those unread messages in your inbox. No, inbox zero is not a thing. No. Kind of like the flat earth thing. It's not a thing, but the inbox zero will not happen because you will always get an email. And if you don't believe me, let me know, because I'll be sending you emails at 3 a.m.
Pew.
Yeah, exactly. So now we talked about ways to be better managers of our inbox. How about sending emails? For being a better sender or a more conscientious sender as we're approaching 2021, I got a thing about group email megathreads.
Stop doing them, please.
Okay, so that's great. But AJ, how can one stop doing that? I got an idea.
Okay.
Wrote a song about it. Like to hear it go.
Oh, I would. Key of C, sharp?
Something like that. Or B flat. Take that list of 20 or 30 emails that you would have in your parent-teacher organization or your homeowners association or a social group that you would be wanting to message, and activate the blind carbon copy field. It's called BCC for short. Paste those addresses or enter them in the BCC field.
Yeah. And
then add your address to the to line. Send this email to yourself. Therefore, all replies to this email will not go to everyone's inboxes. Just you. And what you're doing there is twofold. One, you're eliminating a whole lot of these unread messages coming in as people would be replying to a certain information from your email. And two, there are folks around this world that prefer that their email address not be seen by others. And if I get my email in a whole lot of other people's addresses, I get it feisty like my dog's barking. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's one idea. But also, I talked about this in a couple ways, and I'm not sure how to articulate this. But when you're in an email megathread conversation with somebody about a certain issue, and you decide to contact support, you know where I'm headed. You want to take this one?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm going to keep it clean.
Oh, okay. So let's just say you both and your other email compadre have yet to find the resolution to your issue, and you want to bring in the big guns, the tech support, the people who can solve the problems, mainly AJ and me. Do us a favor. Give us a 2 to 3 sentence summary at the top of the email, and not make us have to wade through the entire megathread conversation, which includes a lot of spaces for those signatures that can make us want to consider the environment before printing out this email, or to see all the replied and the date and time, and actually who is involved in this conversation. A summary would be helpful.
Look, do what the kids are calling TLDR me. Too long, didn't read.
Too long, didn't read.
Look, because I get you might be looped in at the very end. We get this all the time, Chris, where there's this huge communications thread. And yes, the context is good. I'm not saying that, especially when we're doing very deep data related work, that's not warranted. However, you have got to give the person that you have been parlaying for days on something, and then it comes down to this new person. It's like, oh, we need an answer on whatever it is. You've got to TLDR me. You've got to be able to brief me on what I'm getting into before you're going to ever get a response from me. Otherwise, I'm going to ignore it until you act. I'm not going to take my time to suss out all of this because I don't know all the back channeling that's gone on, what has been resolved. I'm going to look at this as, oh, you accidentally added me. Ignore.
Well, along those lines,
I kept it clean, Chris.
I know, and I'm glad you did. We want to avoid the explicit tag on our show. Along those lines, as a sender or an includer of an email for this, AJ and I have given you permission, dear listener, to give us a maximum of 2 apologies for taking up our time in your email. Yeah, we know.
It's all good.
We appreciate your apology. It's not necessary.
Nope.
We're paid to be able to help out in a lot of cases. But also, consequently, I think it would be helpful if we're living in 2020. Please stop asking, did you get my email within a certain time frame? It will really help us out if you were to include, and this can be for all tech support or other colleagues at your workplace or even family, as you're planning the weekend picnic. May I get a response from you within 48 or 72 hours? Yeah. You've given us a time frame before we wonder what's going on. And it gives us a little bit of time to think about it and also to work on other things instead of a 20-minute time frame before. I just sent you an email. Did you get it?
Especially, if you want to get on a tech's good side and you have to send somebody an email at the end of the day, do yourself a favor and include, hey, I know this is the end of the day. In the next day or two, do you mind? And then, whatever your question is. That way, the person who is just running off to go, do what we're doing in these COVID times of juggling life and kids and work doesn't see that email and go, you want an answer in 30 minutes? Are you kidding? No. By having that, hey, I know it's the end of the day. Could you look into this in the next day or two and get back to me? That de-escalates the person that it's going to immediately. Because I can be like, okay, cool, no problem. I'll take a look at it tomorrow or whatever. As opposed to at 4:00 and you're wondering, does this person above or beneath me need this ASAP? You know what I mean, Chris?
At 4:00, I'm having flashbacks to Office Space. Hey, you know what I'm also having flashbacks at? A time in the past when we actually had a 2-part episode.
I know, that's what this is going to end up being.
I think so, because, there's a lot more in our show notes. Drink. I think we should probably stick a fork in this episode and continue the conversation next week for the next 169 episode.
Should I send you an email about it?
Please don't.
Oh.
I'm sitting right here.
Maybe a notification?
No.
Boop.
Yes, exactly. So we're going to put a little push pin in this episode, and we thank you for joining us on the Bellingham podcast. I'm not good at this. AJ, you wrap this one up.
I wrap it up for this edition of the Bellingham, this first of 2-part edition of the Bellingham podcast. Thank you again so much for listening to us, rating us, reviewing us wherever you like to get our podcast. Remember, if you are in the Bellingham area, you might be listening to us on KMRE 102.3 FM.
They are community powered in a melodic sort of way on the worldwide interwebs at kmre.org.
And on that note, I'm AJ Barce.
And I'm Chris Powell. Thanks once again for putting up with us here on the Bellingham podcast. God, this is going to be fun for part 2.
Sorry, man. That's fine.